And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis. Next to me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Laraib. We are here to kick off the 2025-2026 NFL season, Laraib. It is so exciting to be back to kick off another excellent NFL season, and most importantly, to kick off our fifth year running the First and Goal podcast. Just super excited that we're able to do this again. Super exciting NFL season to get into, Larab.
Half a decade of First and Goal podcast content. And we say this every year, but every year it's true. Our views just keep on climbing and climbing and climbing. So thank you guys for sticking with us for so long and sticking through this boring ass stretch of the year where basketball's on. Who's watching that? Baseball's on. Oh God, no.
Lewis, Larab,
Finally,
are you going to
it
do
is
basketball?
August.
No.
No, there is no First and Goal basketball pod ever. As you guys can see, I'm wearing my spoils of my victory here from predicting the Eagles to beat your Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I might be rocking this thing all season long. You guys going to see me with my Super Bowl patch. I mean, this thing is
Looking a
nice, a
little
little
big on
big.
you, huh?
I mean, a little big. I also lost a little weight, but I mean, still a little big, a little low cut, too, a little risque for the pod.
Hmm.
Um, but no, we're excited to be back here with you guys for this season. A lot of big storylines that we're going to be hitting on today, Lewis. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
Before we start, Larab, I just want to tell our audience what they can look forward to because we do take the long time off, and some people they're like, where what are we guys doing? But when it comes to the NFL season, we're back and we're hitting that consistent grind. So we're gonna be looking forward to more of our reaction and prediction episodes every single week. You'll be getting at least 2 episodes a week of our content going forward. Or see just game predictions, everything you could want, we provided here. Um, and we're just super excited to give you this content, because we take that time off. We need to make sure we're nice and well rested for a jam-packed NFL season. A lot of stuff going on. It's certainly going to be a busy fall, but we are here to be with you guys. So, like you mentioned, Laura, let's go ahead and we're going to today just 20 25 minutes talking about our favorite storylines that we're really looking forward to going into this season. And where I want to start, Laurab, is actually with the 2024 NFL draft, producing a historic NFL rookie quarterback class. And now we're entering year 2 of these rookie quarterbacks. Some of them lived up to the hype and even exceeded their hype and had awesome rookie seasons. Some of them fell below their hype and left us a little disappointed, wanting more. Some of them didn't even play, Larab. So we're going to go through in draft order, talking about these guys, going over what our expectations are for them going into this season, and what can we expect from them. Because a year 2 quarterback still on that rookie deal. Now the team builds around them. Now that they have that extra capital, they're not paying him a lot. So now we really get to see what these guys can prove to us. Are they going to be their franchise's next star quarterback? Or is this a year where the franchise starts pivoting away? And we're going to start with probably the most polarizing and the biggest hype going into last year quarterback, and that would be Mr. Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears, Laurab. Chicago, disappointing season last year, only winning 5 games. Caleb Williams, definitely disappointing to the draft caliber of last season. Didn't produce at the level that we really wanted him to produce, and just a lot of mistakes last year. Obviously, you had the coach getting fired halfway through the season, 2 different play callers during, or when I say the offensive coordinator fired. So 2 different play callers throughout the season. Now they bring in Ben Johnson, awesome offensive coordinator for the Lions, really changed that whole Lions trajectory. Now staying in the division, coaching Caleb Williams, bringing in a lot of big additions this offseason, Rob. What are your expectations for Caleb, and what would a good season for Caleb Williams look like in year 2?
My expectations for him this season is to hit 8 wins and really limit the sacks, right? I think a huge, the bring in Ben Johnson, that's the big thing that they did. But they also brought in a lot of additional weapons. They drafted Luther Burden. The offensive line got revamped to say the least. I think this Bears team had easily top three offseason in the acquisitions that they made. Their defense is still incredible, led by Jalen Johnson and Montez Sweat on the defensive line. I think it's for Caleb Williams. We know the type of prospect that he was, his playmaking ability. But sometimes for quarterbacks, you only need that great playmaking ability 1 to 2 times a game, and the rest of the game really is about not taking sacks and not throwing picks. And that's a lot of what Caleb Williams was doing last season. Can he limit those? Can he learn this Ben Johnson offense? The big storylines, especially since training camp has started, has been about how much Caleb Williams has struggled. Everyone likes, he's been the laughing stock, especially for the rookie quarterbacks last year of all the videos on social media, even from him just this past training camp. I don't buy into too much of that stuff. I think when game time comes, that's when we'll really see what it's been like or how he's been developing and what realistically this Bears team is trying to do, Lewis, is try to make the playoffs. And can that be done in their really tough division? I don't think they can win their division, but make the playoffs, I think that's certainly the top of their list of their goals.
Going off of what Caleb Williams' hype was going in as a transcendent generational talent at the quarterback position, Laraib, I think this year to jump. You talked about the offseason moves, but let me really go through it. They started free agency going heavy on the offensive line. You bring in Joe Tooney from the Chiefs. You bring in Drew Dahlman, really solid center from the Atlanta Falcons. Jonah Jackson, just a solid offensive lineman for the Bengals last year. You still have Darnell Wright at tackle, who is solid. So you believe, all right, let's shore up the offensive line with veterans, guys who've been in the league. They know offensive schemes. And Ben Johnson, that was the big thing in Detroit, right? It was, they had all these flashy weapons, but the main tip of the spear for that Detroit offense was their offensive line and their ability to run the ball, because that's where it all starts from. So building the offensive line. But then they even doubled down on getting Caleb weapons in the draft. You go and draft Colston Loveland out of Michigan with your first round pick. You draft Luther Burden in the second round, really toolsy wide receiver out of Missouri last year. And you still have Roma Dunze, who you drafted in the first round last year. You have DJ Moore, who's just been a Pro Bowl level receiver his entire career and had a good season, but definitely not to the caliber that we've seen him at his best. So there are no excuses for Caleb Williams going into this year. And Rob, I got to be honest with you. You said 8 wins. They need to be an above 500 team. If I can consider this a good season for Caleb Williams based on the expectation levels that I had for him last year, I was definitely a lot higher on Caleb than definitely you were, but probably most of the consensus. I believed in the talent. I believed in the off script ability and just making plays out of the pocket. And he definitely, it seemed like he was holding on to the ball too long. He couldn't play on script that well. And you mentioned the disturbing training camp videos that we're seeing of him just getting frustrated, throwing the ball at the net and just getting all mad at himself. And that does worry me, because a big thing for him is he gets into his head too much emotionally. We saw this in college at USC where, he was crying on the sideline. I didn't make anything of it. What? He's a passionate football player. He wants to be better. But at the same time, you need to be the leader of the team. Can you lead a 53-man roster into every game having full belief you're going to be the captain of the ship? You're going to be level-headed. And even in the downs and the valleys of a game, you can remain even keel and bring your team back up. So those are the things I need to see from Caleb this year. Statistics. Can you be the first 4,000-yard passer in Bears franchise history? Can you throw for 30 touchdowns this year? The first Bears quarterback to throw for 30 touchdowns in a single season. I think these are very manageable goals that you can have for Caleb. Reduce the sacks. If he can get to like 30 sacks this year, it'll be half of that from what he had last year. So reduce the mistakes, play on schedule. Ben Johnson is a very creative play caller. Play within the offense. But when stuff breaks down, don't be afraid to use your superpower of being off script and making plays happen. So I am optimistic about this Bears team. They do have a brutal schedule this year. Obviously that is a tough division, but you also are playing. I believe. Let me pull this up real quick. You're playing the AFC West, or excuse me, you're playing the AFC North and the NFC East. So that's not too easy. Those are very tough divisions you're playing this year, along with your own division. Playing a third place schedule or a fourth place schedule will provide you some easier games, but overall, I think I need to see just a confident Caleb playing within the offense and just being overall a lot more productive than he was last year.
Yeah, it's going to be a balance for him using that superstar ability and playing within that Ben Johnson system because, he made it real easy for Jared Goff. Can Caleb Williams be half as good as Jared Goff and, take his checkdowns when he needs to, take his crossing routes when he needs to, and then, like you mentioned, use that big playability when, in those big moments. We'll see what that leap is from year one to year two. We know those Chicago fans are not going to go easy on him. So we'll see how he takes that adjustment, Lewis. But let's move on to the most successful quarterback from last year's draft class, Jaden Daniels, who took this Commanders team to the NFC Championship last season. What do you think his expectations are this year, and what is a good, outcome for the Commanders team this season?
Well, based off of last year, you always want to see these guys improve. But Jaden Daniels had a magical rookie season, Laraib, shattering rookie records, leading his team all the way to the NFC Championship, where, yeah, they had a disappointing defeat to the eventual champions. But, for even him getting to that point was very impressive. And he just showed superstar ability with his legs. The deep ball was a huge tool that he used all year long. And what I need to see from Jaden Daniels is just continue that superstar level. Even if you don't win 12 games like you did last year, because let's be honest, a lot of those games were at the very end, come back one Caleb Williams and those Chicago Bears. But like keep the magic going. You keep Cliff Kingsbury after there were rumors that he might want to accept a head coaching job. Clearly, he wanted to run it back, and he likes coaching. Jaden Daniels and this Commanders offense. You still have Dan Quinn there. And, you bring in some veteran talent. That's a big thing this Commanders team has been doing. Adam Peters, bringing in veteran guys who know how to play, know how to win, and really just turning around the culture in Washington. You bring in Laramie Tunsil, huge offensive tackle, super talented, a bit of a penalty problem with him, but no doubt he is one of the most talented tackles in all of football. And you also bring in Deebo Samuel, definitely on the latter half of his career, but he can just provide a lot of playmaking juice on the inside. You can use him all over the formation. Cliff Kingsbury will definitely be, very creative and using him in a lot of different places. So really for Jaden, I'm not expecting, obviously it'd be great if they won the division, but the Eagles are still that team. They're still the defending champs. You have to give them their respect. So if you aren't number one, you definitely need to be number two in that division. Definitely need to be a playoff team again and just continue to build on a very magical season from last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much you can say based on his play. People were talking about maybe throwing him in the MVP conversation. That's how well he was playing. And so, we just want him to keep on that same pace. But overall, as for this Commanders team, I'm just a little bit down on them in general. For one thing, people are going to see them coming this year. That's always one aspect to it. And then the second thing is just their defense is really, really bad. I don't know how many times Jaden Daniels can bail you out in a game a la when, like you mentioned, the Bears game, a la when, the Saints decided to go for two instead of going to overtime in that one game. It's just going to be some breaks like that that might not go their way, along with playing that number two in your division, all those games. It's going to be tough for them. But Jaden Daniels, are you going to continue to build, or are you going to take some of that CJ Stroud from 2 years ago and kind of have to regress down? Maybe the offensive line breaks down a little bit. Maybe Terry McLaurin gets traded. How is he going to deal with those different things? But I still think he's going to be the cream of the crop of this class and play outstanding football.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on, like, yes, they have a very tough schedule, but there is what Jaden Daniels brings, and this is kind of a thing that I was talking about with Caleb, is he brings that confidence to a locker room where it's like we believe we can win with this guy at the helm. And he kind of just rises the tide of all the ships in that locker room. Even the defensive guys, they don't have a. Oh shoot, who's that corner? They got rid of him. He's on
Oh,
the
St.
Titans now.
Juiced,
St.
Benjamin
Juice is
St.
no
Juiced.
longer a Washington Commander. Thank goodness. Um, looking for a bounce back year out of Marshawn, who got traded after an injury. Definitely had a rough end of the year, but apparently he's been impressing at camp. And can he, go back to Pro Bowl Marshawn Lattimore form? I definitely think he's capable of doing so. Um, and really, for Jaden, the expectation, this is what we're talking about with this discussion, right? Expectations. Where are we setting that floor where, what's the least amount you can do for we can say, hey, good year? Because we've seen second year quarterbacks, namely, CJ Stroud last year. We would say, even though they made the playoffs and they won a playoff game, probably a little bit of a down year for CJ. But, can JD5 just, even if he doesn't get the wins, just continue to show that individual brilliance and propel this team to another playoff berth? That is where I'm setting the bar for JD5. But now going ahead to a guy who entered the year as the backup, came in late, had a pretty rocky start, but showed a lot of flashes. And that is Drake May, who was drafted third by the New England Patriots. Laura, what are your expectations for Drake May?
If we are looking all of these guys who I expect to make the biggest jump from last year to this year, it is Drake May for me. I think bringing in Mike Vrabel is the biggest boost in all of coaching that you can get. A lot of people are having this question, this debate online. How much does Mike Vrabel help you at that position? I think he easily adds 3-4 wins to a team, no question in my mind. Just what he did with that Titans team, in his past was just outstanding. Now you come to the Patriots, you have Drake May, who had a lot of great flashes last year. You bring in Stephon Diggs, you draft Henderson at running back. And they had a really fantastic offseason as well, bringing in some offensive line to bolster, bringing in some of Rabel's past players from Tennessee as well on the defensive side. I think they are going to be going, yeah, again, they have the Bills in the division, but I really like what they did this offseason. And Drake May is one of those guys, kind of like Justin Herbert, maybe not one of the most vocal guys on the field, maybe not someone as you see as someone who's going to be really vocal, but it's really through his play that you see him on the field that really stands out to me. His deep ball is really incredible. His timing on his throws was great. I mean, you can't show all your greatness in your rookie year when you're throwing to Kayshon Boutte and Hunter Henry. But with some of those new guys in there this year, I really think Drake May is going to take a huge leap.
My expectations for Drake May aren't as high as you. I think individually he still has a lot on his plate in terms of just the offensive infrastructure that he's been playing around. They made huge improvements this offseason. Like you mentioned, I love Vrabel. I love the intensity he brings, just the steadiness, bringing him to New England, and just that steady force defensively. I think defensively, New England's going to be a force this season, and that's going to keep them in a lot of games. But offensively, this is a rough skill position group. You bring in Stephon Diggs, but coming off an ACL tear, it seems like he's ready to go, but still older receiver. Obviously has his off the field locker room issues that you still have to deal with. So that's just a headache waiting to happen. And then the rest of the guys, you said, oh, last year you're throwing Kayshon Boutte and Hunter Henry. That's wide receiver 2 and tight end 1 this year. So it's not like those guys are changing. And, you draft Will Campbell in the first round to kind of shore up that offensive line. But really, I mean, you bring in the old fossil of Morgan Moses, who solid tackle, but if he's healthy, that's the big concern. And, Cole Strange entering, his fifth season. I still don't love this offensive line, running backs, wide receiver group, but, um, it's definitely an improvement from what they had last year, infrastructure wise. But what I need to see from Drake May is just consistency, finding guys, showing off those wild plays. I think underrated part of his game is his legs, being able to get out of the pocket and make plays. You see him as this big, just tall, strong guy, but he's able to move and move effectively. So that's a big thing. Just I want to see this team make a big team improvement, and can Drake May just be consistent given the talent around him?
Yeah, and overall as a team, I really want them to finish second in the division, and that would be a victory in my eyes. the Dolphins clearly taking a step back every year with their head coach Mike McDaniel and Tua at their quarterback position, and then the Jets, they are always in the dumps, especially with Justin Fields at the quarterback. So can you be number two in your division? Drake May, can you continue to build on what was a sort of impressive latter half of your rookie year? And we'll see what they do with their new head coach Mike Vrabel.
All right, Laraib, let's move on to the fourth quarterback drafted. Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, now entering his second year for the Falcons. Came in at the very end of last year, showed some flashes, but pretty rough goings going for him in that latter half of the season. But now he's a full offseason as the number one, undisputed, even with Kirk Cousins still on the roster. He's been given the full car keys to run this offense, and it's a very talented offense, Laraib. So for me personally, what I need to see from Penix at the end of the year, can I say you are the no doubt starter going forward? So my expectations for him aren't this grand Pro Bowl, Falcons playoffs. Is can I leave this season saying I have confidence in you to lead this offense going forward? Are you going to be able to make the tough throws, to stand in the pocket? And a big thing for Penix, can you show me a full, healthy 17 game season? Because that's been the big knock on him coming out of college is the injuries. So I need to just see that consistency. They have the offensive talent. Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. You have these guys who are able to produce for you. It's just about can you get them the ball and a lot of things staying consistent for Michael Penix going into this year. So a full training camp, full off season where he's the no doubt guy. He needs to prove to me that he is the no doubt starter going into this season or exiting this season.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw, the little bit that we saw out of Michael Penix last year. He I mean, I liked his connection with Drake London. He's especially, I really felt like he hyper targeted Drake London. We saw Darnell Mooney kind of take a step back from his role as wide receiver too, especially when he came in. But I think, like you mentioned, with the full offseason, when you're handing him the keys, really putting your trust in him, I think that's really going to build on his confidence. And with the arsenal that he has, especially in this weak NFC South division, we'll talk about another quarterback from that division in a little bit. But I think he has a great opportunity to step up here. It's interesting. Kirk Cousins is still on the Falcons roster. I just wonder how that dynamic is going to be for however long Kirk Cousins stays. But I think Penix is going to have a good season. And they might even win the division.
Yeah, it's certainly gettable. You still have the Buccaneers who've been kind of running the division for the past few years, but they certainly have the offensive talent. Still concerned defensively. They bring in a lot of young defensive talent. Um, and with D'Amico Ryans entering his second year as the coach, how is he able to really start making his defense excellent on that end? So just show me, Penix, that you can enter this or exit this season being the no doubt starter. Finally, or not finally, we still have three more guys. JJ McCarthy, a guy who hasn't played a single NFL regular season snap, now entering his second season, but really his rookie season, Laraib. Given all the offensive talent, the coaching, everything over there, what do you need to see? What do you need to see from JJ McCarthy this year?
Can you be better than Sam Darnold from last year? And that's going to be the big thing. Sam Darnold, who is the quarterback for my Seahawks currently, has been a pumpkin for the majority of his career. Even in his final game that he played with the Vikings, he turned into a pumpkin. JJ McCarthy, I didn't watch much of college football. All I know is you play for Michigan, who like to run the ball a lot and win the natty running the ball. I know you like to take your shoes off, even your socks off, and meditate on the field. But can you be serviceable in the NFL, especially in a KOC offense, which is known to make it really easy? And you know what else makes it really easy is when you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. With those two guys as your receivers and TJ Hawkinson, plus KOC as your head coach, can you show me that you are serviceable in the NFL? And I think with this Viking squad, because this year, they have their sights set on one thing, that is the Super Bowl. They had disappointing loss in the playoffs last year in the first round, but they know their defense arguably top three, you could say they're one easily top three in the NFL with all the guys that they have positionally. And so can he just be Russell Wilson from his earlier years with the Seahawks doing, just throwing the ball to the guys who are wide open, manage the game, and win games like that, especially in your tough division.
Yeah, I agree with you, Laraib. I just need to see kind of similar to Penix, even though I have a little more faith in Penix because we did see some flashes, like you mentioned. I need to see that you can be a starting quarterback who can hold his own. You are given the car keys of a Lamborghini with this offensive infrastructure. Not a lot of rookie quarterbacks get to enter quite the offense that you are going to be entering with the head coach, with the weapons, like you mentioned. So, it with this tough division, they won 14 games last season. I'm not expecting him to win 14 games, but can you reduce the mistakes? Can you not make those rookie mistakes, taking bad sacks, not playing within the offense, really just finding your guys? I think, Christian Darrisaw coming back from injury, you have the offensive line to keep you upright, moving the ball, using the run game to your advantage, and really just staying in there and being productive. I think that a good season for JJ McCarthy is just getting the Vikings, not 14 wins, but can you get 9, 10 wins this season and just, have a better end to the season than a beginning of the season? Because I do expect some bumpiness, some rockiness, especially in the beginning of the season. But can you end the season on a high note and hell, maybe even make the playoffs or make some noise so I can leave the season saying, they made the right pick with, using a top tier 10th overall pick on JJ McCarthy. Will they be proven right? That's what I need to see from JJ McCarthy. But let's go to the guy who probably had the second best rookie season last year, Larob. Bo Nix made the playoffs, got smacked by the Bills in the first round. But going into the second year, a lot of hype for this Broncos team. But Bo Nix specifically, what are you looking for?
Yeah, Sean Payton can't stop raving about this guy. He put it down in print. Bo Nix will be a top five quarterback this season. And I think the big thing for Bo Nix is going to be his ability to play within the Sean Payton system and really take that jump in step two, a la Drew Brees and his time in New Orleans, where we just saw him. Once he start hitting his stride, it was 5,000 yard season, 5,000 yard season, 5,000 yard season. That's what Sean Payton wants to turn Bo Nix into, that gunslinger archetype who also, in this case, is able to use his legs in a lot of plays as well. The big gripe on him coming out of college was that he was a little bit older, but I think that's been to his benefit so far. Can he continue to build on that success in this Sean Payton season? My expectation this year is a 4,000 yards passing with 35 passing touchdowns, along with a couple rushing touchdowns in there. And this Broncos team, who another unit who's great defensively, and you have Cortland Sutton, maybe not one of the most elite guys, but still you pay him the bag. You bring in RJ Harvey, the fossil, and at the running back position. I think this Broncos team is going to be good this year.
I agree. And what I need to see from Bo Nix is really just showing that he can build. I honestly need to see a Pro Bowl level season. Now, obviously, in the AFC, when you're dealing with some of these monoliths at quarterback, you're not going to crack that top echelon. But can you be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? You have Sean Payton, elite play caller. You have serviceable weapons that will put you in a position to succeed. Using your legs, great offensive line, defense that will keep you in games. I need to see a playoff berth and potentially a division crown for Bo Nix entering his second. I know I'm wearing the red right now, but certainly I need to see a lot. That's going to do it for right now in the episode, Laura. We're dealing with some time restrictions that we will get ironed out. But again, thank you guys for being with us for this awesome season. We're super excited to get into a bunch of stuff. Laura, you got anything else for us to get out of here?
Spencer Rattler was going to be